Hello and welcome to today's edition of Learning. Well, today we are going to learn something very interesting. It is actually a kind of an analysis that we are going to do today between the programs of All India Radio as well as the other private FMs. We will see the similarities, find out the dissimilarities, and more than anything else, we'll try to understand the reasons behind the same. But to analyze this, we need to understand radio as a medium first. Well, radio is a very content-specific medium, and the reason for that is nothing but it is an audio medium. And all-in-all audio medium doesn't have the backing, the support of the visuals. So the radio people, we have to actually conceptualize the program in such a manner that it creates a visual image in the minds of our listeners. So keeping that in mind, radio is a full-fledged content-based medium which offers nothing but entertainment and information. Now let me tell you one thing here. Nowadays, radio is actually an infotainment medium. As we were talking about the kind of programs that are being broadcast in the radio, let me tell you that the broadcasting scenario of our country has changed back in 2000 May, when the private broadcasters were allowed to come up with their channels, were allowed to come up with their programs. So that was the time when actually All India Radio lost its monopoly and competition came in. Now, anything without competition, I mean with all due respect to All India Radio, you know that you are the only player in the market. So that challenge is not there, right? The challenge of survival. With FM channels, I mean the private FM channels coming in, things became more competitive, interesting and challenging. Now to understand this, let me tell you that All India Radio has actually two FM channels. One is FM Rainbow, which they portrait for the younger generation, and the other one is FM Gold, which is a kind of, as the name suggests, it's a gold channel with all the retro programs and retro songs and all. And also they, at times, they broadcast news and commentaries. Now, apart from these two channels, we have many other private channels, right? From Radio Mirchi to Red FM to whatnot. Now, this radio as a 24-hour infotainment media has immense scope for news and entertainment-based programs. For All India Radio, we can say that it is far more wide, the concept of programming, or the scope of programming rather, is far more wide than the other private channels. Why? Because All India channels, with so many channels under its umbrella, whether it's Yuva Vani, whether it's Calcutta A, Calcutta B, whether it's Vivid Bharati, FM Rainbow, FM Gold, I mean so many channels under the same umbrella, they have the opportunity or the scope or to actually cater to the audience at random. But when it comes to the FM channel, it is somewhat different. The private FM channels, it is somewhat different. Now, radio as a 24-hour infotainment media has immense scope for news and entertainment-based programs. And as I was telling you, for All India Radio, it is even more easier. But when it comes to the private FM channels, the geographical boundary of the private FM channels are a kind of problem. And this boundary has been fixed by TRI. So keeping all these things in mind, today we are going to take some niche programs, not the programs, but the concepts rather, and we'll try to analyze how these programs are being catered by All India Radio vis-a-vis private FM channels, what are the scopes, and how people, I mean, without the listeners, without us, no radio channel or no media is a media, right? So how we take it for our infotainment. Now let us start with one thing without which the media cannot survive, that is news. When it comes to news, well, All India Radio runs a parallel department of news with its news editors, sub-editors, reporters, news readers, and this is one of the most important programming format of All India Radio, right? And it is not only Hindi or English, but also the local languages, the vernaculars like Bengali and other vernaculars that they cater news. Here, All India Radio has a kind of advantage over the other private channels. Why? Because, as per the broadcasting legislation, no private FM channel can broadcast news. And you see, end of the day, people need information. So what do private FM channels do? Are they not going to compete here? Of course they are going to do it. So they need the news, the information, and whatever important stuff they have to cater to their audience, let the listeners know about it. They actually need it. They spin it with their phone-in programs, talk shows and all. But news as a whole, like All India Radio News, it comes with a bip, 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 and it says, this is All India Radio and the news is being read by such and such. Now, that particular signature they cannot do. And if there are laws, there are bypasses also. So what the FM channels do, they need the news, they spin the news in their entertainment program, they make it infotainment, and they cater it to the audience, to the listeners. So when it comes to news, serious news, it is All India Radio. When it comes to information plus entertainment, it is actually the private FM channels. Now, let me tell you one thing. News includes everything. And nowadays, weather is a very important component of any news program. If you see it in the television medium also, in the radio medium, and also in the print medium. So if you see the weather updates, if you are a bit conscious about radio listening, if you do it a bit seriously, you will find that the private FM channels, they're very fast in updating that. At the same time, they're very fast in updating traffic conditions of the city. So is All India Radio. So in this way, All India Radio and the private FM channels, they maintain a kind of balance. But when it is news, in one word, I can say All India Radio has a slot specifically, channels and people specifically dedicated to news. But when the private FM channels, the case is somewhat not like that. It's a kind of combination of news and other entertainment programs. Now, when it comes to radio, if you ask any radio veteran, one program that comes to their mind immediately is a kind of drama. Radio dramas were immensely popular, and veterans like Utpal Dutt, Tripti Mitra, Shambhu Mitra, they were the people, Satyajit Ray, they were the people who were behind the drama of All India Radio. There was a time when the Saturday drama of All India Radio used to be a family entertainment. The entire family used to sit with a radio set for the Saturday radio drama. And even now, if you listen to those drama, those are beautifully produced. And over the time, the taste of people has changed. People has moved a bit. Now, the drama format is a very popular format. We all love to listen to stories, isn't it? So what did the private FM channels has to do here? Radio Mirchi came up with a very interesting concept called Sunday Suspense. I'll be playing a bit of Sunday Suspense for you also.
মোগরের মতো হাত, পাটাতনের মতো বুক, মূলোর মতো দাঁত, তাল গাছের মতো লম্বা। দারু ব্রহ্মেরও জেদ চেপেছে। তাদের এত বড় রাজবংশ একটা পুচকে দৈত্য এসে খেয়ে ঢেকুর তুলছে না, কেমন কথা? এ বাড়িতে ভোজ খেয়ে লোকে পাক্কা 1.5 দিন মেঝে পড়ে থাকতো। 2-4 জন ভোজকে গঙ্গা যাত্রায় পর্যন্ত গেছে, সেই বাড়ির এই অপমান। দারু ব্রহ্ম নাওয়া খাওয়া ফুলে আদায় উসুল করতে লাগলো। তেল কলের ভার নিজে নিল, আরো সব নতুন নতুন কারবার খুলতে লাগলো। গাড়ি গাড়ি চাল আসছে বাড়িতে, বস্তা বস্তা আনাজ, ঘি, দুধ, দই। এসবই একদিন ওই দৈত্যের ওপর দিয়ে উসুল হবে, আগে বেটা ঢেকুরটা তো তুলুক।
Where you will find that how interestingly they have adapted this particular drama format. They have actually, redefined it a bit. Made it actually suitable for the next generation of audience, and now it is one of the most popular formats. Drama in itself is always very popular because, as I have already told you, we love listening to stories. That's why we go to movies. That's why we go to theatre halls, right? And that is where they have actually capitalized. They have come up with the concept of kind of audio reading, and they have come up with a new format of drama with music, sound effects, and proper editing. These are beautifully presented both in All India Radio as well as in the private FM channels. Now, let me tell you one thing. These dramas are also, the radio plays and the radio dramas are also a kind of a very honest step towards reviving our age-old literature that we have inherited over centuries. Keeping those alive is very, very important. Passing it on to our next generation is also very important. And drama is one very interesting and well accepted format for that. So again, in a nutshell, in one line, drama exists nowadays both in All India Radio as well as private FM. Till a certain time, it was only All India Radio's monopoly. Now, a good format, everybody will like to take it and utilize it. Now, one format I would like to mention here, though unfortunately, neither All India Radio nor the private FM channel has experimented with it. But one of my favorite formats is a radio documentary. Mainly catered in BBC World Radio and Voice of America, documentary could be of anything. And it is narrated, scripted, and more than anything else, it is planned in such a manner that it gives you a visual impact. And if any radio producer ever, I have the scope of discussing this format with a radio producer, my honest and humble suggestions would be to experiment with it, because it's very, very interesting. It's very interesting. But since we do not experiment with it as of now, I'm not going into much details about it. Now let me tell you one program which is immensely popular all over the world. And I know people who are attending this lecture session today, they are also a part of this program. And it is nothing but the phone-in programs. Hello, I'm such and such. I would like to listen to this track and I'd like to dedicate it to my best friend, right? This is the, safest format and the most popular format. And here what happens, why these formats are so very popular? Because we all love ourselves. You must be wondering what this lady is talking about. Yes, we love ourselves and we love to listen to our voice over the radio. That's the simple mantra. That's the simple strategy behind this phone-in programs. And there are tracks which are being repeated time and again. And, people love to listen to this track. They love to dedicate it to it. And this has made radio programs more and more interactive. I would only be interested in something where I have the opportunity, I get a scope to express myself, where I'm being given importance, and phone-in programs are one such. Whenever we talk about phone-in program, we think of song request. Yes, that is the most popular format. And till a few years, the most requested song was Jab Koi Baat Bigad Jaye by Kumar Sanu. The Hindi version of 500 Miles. It was the most requested track of All India Radio. Now, apart from this entertainment program, whether it is Western music request show, whether it is Hindi music request show, there are programs which are also phone-ins but which deals with a lot of serious issues. For example, one very interesting phone-in program takes place in All India Radio and also nowadays in the private FM channels is a budget analysis. Right? Every year after the union budget, after the railway budget, what these people do to make things very interesting, they get in experts to the studio and they invite the listeners to phone in with their queries, with their questions, and the expert along with the radio anchor and the radio jockey, they will answer the question. So it's a one-to-one interaction, right? my problem, I actually call up somebody from the banking sector, somebody who's an economist, who's a finance expert, and I get my queries answered then and there. So this is also a very, very popular format, and this format includes a lot of other things, social issues, psychological issues, etc., etc. But let me tell you, this is one format which is hugely utilized by the private FM channels as well as All India Radio. Right from the morning show till the late at night shows. And here, if you remember one program by the famous RJ, Jimmy Tangri, Dil Se, you would also be able to relate with that kind of a program. And just for your convenience, we'll play a very small snippet of this particular program.
Remember, love is in the air, all the closeness, all the warmth, all the affection. Please, come on tonight and share it with me right from now, right till the wee hours of the morning. Because I would like to know the kind of memories you'll have had with the show, the kind of closeness you'll have shared, the kind of incidents you'll have gone through, whether it be good, whether it be bad, whatever it be. It's just like a small family who's coming together to spread all the joy. And you folks always have made it happen. So remember, lines are open, the Facebook posts are open, the Twitter handle is open, the email is open. Share, care, and spread that love.
Well, now the next format that we are going to start is interview. And if you say interviews, it's being utilized by print, electronic, internet medium and whatnot. Why? Because interview programs gives a kind of credibility to the program. When I am saying something, it is something like the third person who is narrating. But if the person who has survived that particular situation, that becomes more credible, that becomes more objective from the point of view of radio programming on journalism. Interview is not only with celebrities, interview is not only with famous people, interview with the common people are also immensely popular. Again, I go back to my previous point that we all love to listen to ourselves. We all love that importance when the media gives it to us. So radio programming includes interview, and it is being used both by private FM channels as well as All India Radio. There are programs which are basically interview programs. There are programs which are not interview-based programs but interactive programs, or even news, something happening, an accident happening. The reporter goes there, takes the interview of the eyewitness, or maybe a new policy has been announced by the government where the common people is being asked, like, how do they feel about the certain policy, what is their reaction, petrol prices increasing and all. Even a movie released, first show movie, and then the viewers, the common people coming out of the movie show and an interview there. So this is again one particular format that this radio channels, whether it is the private FM broadcasters or All India Radio in their FM channels as well as other channels, utilize it thoroughly. Now, we see that there are certain differences between the programs of All India Radio as well as private FM channels. Now, what is the reason for that? Well, for any media, you have been knowing it since the day you started media sessions, media classes, that target audience is very important. All India Radio has an edge over other FM broadcasters, private FM broadcaster in this regard, because of the reach. And because of the reach, the target audience of All India Radio is huge. Vivid Bharti, is one program which is immensely popular with the soldiers in our border area, because that is the only source of entertainment for them. right? Yuvavani, for people in the semi-urban and rural areas. Even the farmers, right? They listen to radio programs. But when it comes to FM, whether it is private FM or whether it is FM Gold or FM Rainbow, that is the All India Radio FM channels, it is actually targeted towards the local audience. So when it is a FM of Kolkata radio, Kolkata city, what happens? It is the people of Kolkata and people in and around Kolkata. So you see Radio Mirchi Kolkata, Radio Mirchi Pune, Radio Mirchi Guwahati. It is also always very, very local target oriented. Keeping this target in mind, we need to analyze, we need to plan, we need to conceptualize our program. Now, if you close your eyes and you think of All India Radio, you will find it traditional, a bit, what would I say, old schoolers, compared to the private FM channels, the private broadcasters, right? So when it is All India Radio, there are certain things that we got to maintain. But maybe in the private FM channels, since our target is the youngsters, we can do away with a lot of things. We can be much candid over there, right? The other thing that we need to keep in mind is house policy. Every media house has its own policy. All India Radio is being owned by Prasar Bharati, right? Till a few years, it was like the government-owned media. Now it's an autonomous body by Prasar Bharati. I'll give you a very simple example and you will understand the differences in the house policy. Every morning, if you switch on to any of the private FM broadcasters, you will find that they come up with a very interesting format, which even I like to listen to, is like the daily star sign. They give you an astronomical or astrological rather, an astrological idea about how your day is going to be like as per your star signs. If you listen to All India Radio, you will never find it there. Why? Because as far as All India Radio is concerned, they will never do it, as it is against their guidelines that they follow. All India Radio represents itself to be more logical and guided by reasoning. So that is one difference in house policy. The other one is code of conduct. Now, code of conduct is according to the broadcasting legislation of India. And according to that, every permission holder shall follow All India Radio program and advertising code as amended from time to time. So there are a lot of advertisements maybe which comes up for sponsorship or advertising or spots in the radio channels. They might not take it because as per the broadcasting legislation of India, that is not permissible. So this is also one reason, which are all very interrelated, quite interrelated with the programming, conceptualizing and ultimate production of radio programs. And advertisers and sponsors, yes. Many a time it happens that because of the advertisers and sponsors, we need to change the format of the program as well. Because end of the day, they are the people from whom we earn our revenue. So at the end of the session, we can say that keeping all these points in mind, the radio stations are doing quite a commendable job. And who is benefiting out of it? People like you and me. We the listeners, we are being entertained, we are being informed thoroughly, and the more the competition, the better is for us. Thank you.